What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we are in the garage with the E92 M3 and we are of course tackling the one modification that felt like is just going to be necessary on a track inspired club sport style build for the E92 M3, and it's going to be the GTS wing. Now we know that wings can be oftentimes controversial on these cars, or really any cars in general. Even my M4 GTS got so much criticism for running the wing that the car came with from factory, but in my opinion, these cars look fantastic with the GTS wing. There are really only two types of wings that I personally would run on this car, one being the GTS and one being the GT4 style wing. The GT4 style wing is going to be a little bit bigger than this one, and we might end up running that one in the future, but I wanted to start with the GTS wing. This one in particular, I'm going to have it linked down below. It is from Souvenir. Big shout out to those guys for sending it out. There's nothing too crazy about this wing. What you see is what you get. Plenty of E9X owners run this wing on their cars, but of course I've made some slight changes to mine. I'm going to show you guys those right now, and then we are going to get into the installation of this wing. I've also added a few things that are going to make this much more stable. Now, if you guys remember on the M2 build, I also ran a GTS inspired wing. However, in my opinion, anytime that you're doing this, it's wise to go ahead and just buy a separate trunk. So that was what I did. I have another trunk that I got off of Facebook Marketplace in Jerez black already for $200. So I have no holes in that trunk. I'm about to drill holes in the trunk that is currently on the car. And just in case I want to go back to having just a straight up OEM trunk, I have a separate one and it has no holes in it. Nonetheless, let me show you guys the wing and the differences I've made, and we will get into the installation. All right, so first thing is first, this entire wing is carbon fiber. And then you'll notice on the end plates are a little bit different on mine. You'll also notice that they are wrapped to match the car. So when you order the GTS wing, it actually comes with end plates that look like this. These are just your basic carbon fiber end plates. They look okay. However, this is like what everybody runs, and I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. So I sort of used the route that I went with my M4 GTS wing that had M235 IR inspiration on the end plates. So I had American Panda make me these end plates. I basically made a mock-up on plastic. They went ahead and made me a final version, and these ones are just a little bit bigger than the factory carbon end plates. I think they look a ton better on this wing, and I also love the fact that the outside matches my current wrap. When we install this, we're also going to be using some of this foam on the bottom of the plate so we don't get any water inside, kind of like what you saw in the beginning where I used foam back here. And I'm also considering doing a satin PPF on this to sort of match the matte inspired theme that we have going on. I think that would look pretty cool. You guys comment down below and tell me what you think. Now, the other option that we have with this setup is we can either run the trunk with just the wing, which is what we're going to do for now. We can also run the additional OE spoiler with the wing. Obviously, we would wrap this to match it. I also have the M Performance spoiler coming that I'm going to wrap as well. So we'll have a couple of options. Some people don't like the double spoiler look. Some people do. I think this would be super subtle, but we're going to start with just doing the wing. So when we install it, we're going to do about an inch up from here. First things first, we got to line this thing up with blue tape, make our marks, take off the inside lining on the trunk. We're going to be doing some drilling. And when it comes to actually mounting the wing, to make sure that we aren't just flexing all over the trunk, we're going to actually use these metal spacers. Now, these metal spacers are very similar to the way that the actual M4 GTS wing mounts onto the M4 GTS car. It uses these metal spacers that connect to a plate, which then connects to the hinges on the trunk. Now, that adds a level of rigidity and makes sure that this thing isn't just flexing all over the trunk. Because if we just straight up bolt this to the trunk lid, that trunk lid isn't really strong enough to hold the downforce of this wing. It'll eventually just start warping the trunk. So basically the way that this will work, these metal spacers will be metal bonded into the bottom of the trunk lid, and then our screws and our washers will go through into the bottom of this plate. That'll add an extra layer of stability for us. It won't be as good as like your authentic M4 GTS plates because these don't obviously connect to the trunk hinges, but I think it's going to be good enough for what we're doing. Lots of guys just go ahead and and send it with a screw and a washer. I wanted to try and take it one step further and use these little metal washers right here. I've been looking at a lot of different photos as to where people place this wing. It seems like the majority of people put it further back. Obviously you can put it wherever you want, but I think it makes a little bit more sense when it's lined up with the back. When I look up all of the actual M3 GTS photos, the plate in the rear is lining up with the top edge of the spoiler right here. So that's kind of where I'm roughly starting to line this up. And then what I'll do is just go ahead and measure from each point up there, back here, over here, and draw an outline, and then go ahead and make our impressions of the holes, and we'll start the drilling process. I like the look of having it a little bit further back. I just think it looks better on these cars. Too far in the middle looks a little awkward, in my opinion. So that is how we're going to do it. I like that. After measuring, we should be good here. Do a little outline. Like that. So here is the size bolt that we're using. I got this from Home Depot. Just went for something a little bit different. I didn't like the hardware that they supplied. And with these holes, we should be about perfect. I'll probably move this one over just a little bit, and then I'll probably move this one over just a little bit. But marking it like this obviously gives you a good idea as to where it's going to be. We can go ahead and measure from here to here too, there to there, dial it in and get it pretty spot on. So we'll end up starting with a smaller drill bit and then a larger one so we can accommodate this larger bolt. And once it's time to actually bolt the wing onto the trunk, that's when we will get the metal bond out and we'll actually bond this to the inside of the skin of the trunk. In order to do that, we'll also have to shave some things off on the inside and shave away some of the paint on the inside as well, so it's just bare metal. So I figured this would probably be a good time to stop and show you guys where we are at. I'm just sort of test fitting everything, getting the brackets mounted up, and to give you guys an idea of what I meant with the little spacers. So these are steel spacers. I obviously removed all the paint around it, and I'm going to metal bond this to here. So when I go for the final assembly, there will be metal bond in between the steel spacer and the skin of the trunk, and then also around it, just to make sure that we have a bit more structural rigidity all around this, and it should be nice and tight, nice and firm. So obviously this all is not tightened down yet, but that gives you an idea of how I'm going to have this set up. Now on the actual M4 GTS, they use a similar system. However, there are then brackets that come down and mount to the arms of the trunk to give it real strong structural definition. But for this, it should be fine. This is gonna be a lot better than just having your bolts going through. We're gonna add another layer here by actually bonding this to here. That way nothing can really flex. It's going to be nice and tight, nice and strong. I think that's going to be a really good setup. The other thing that we're going to do on this side is we're going to put foam underneath here to make sure that no water gets in between the plate and the trunk and into our trunk space. Beware when you guys are doing this, obviously tons of metal shavings, so just be cautious of that. Probably a good idea to wear some glasses. So now what I'm doing, just to make sure that everything is good, I have my holes where I want them. I think that everything is spaced correctly. I'm gonna go ahead and put on both of the wing mounts, and then we'll actually go ahead and put the entire wing on. And I'm just gonna make sure that everything is perfect before I commit to bonding everything in. All right, so both plates are officially on. We're gonna test fit the wing. One thing I did realize that we could do, if I wanted to, is I could run a plate, one singular metal plate to go across here, and then you'd have obviously those two bolts locking in on that side, those two on this side, and that one plate would also serve as a good structural piece. Side one is in. All right, so next step is to knock out the other side, and then we can go ahead and mount the wing up. But yeah, I think this is turning out pretty good. We got everything on. Looks pretty grody. Doesn't really matter. You're not going to see it. I just wanted to put enough of that bond on there to make sure that it was nice and strong. Everything is tightened down, but the foam up top here is definitely the way to go to make sure no water gets in. This does seem to want to start to drip a little. It's pretty thick, but you can see it is starting to drip a little. So this has to sit and cure for 24 hours. I think what I'll do is leave the trunk up and just set some tape, something that'll catch it in case it goes too far down. For the most part, we should be good, should be fine. And now we can actually go ahead and throw the wing on, make sure everything lines up. All right, so now it is cure time. We're gonna let this just do its thing. It takes 24 hours to cure overnight, but the bond should be good. I'm happy with everything. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I think it's gonna be solid. It'd be interesting to see if there's like a metal piece I could lay across there, but I don't really know if it's necessary for this. I think we're doing a lot as it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and let this cure overnight, and we'll take the car out, kind of see how it looks outside of the garage with the wing.